Before we start tonight, I have a question for you. If you could go back in time to any moment, any civilization, any place, where would you go? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And tonight I might change your answer. Because where I want to take you tonight is somewhere no one expected, somewhere no one even knew existed, until 1994. Opening, shocking idea. Here is a fact that broke something in my understanding of history. Just broke it. Clean, like a bone. In 9,600 BC, 11,500 years ago, someone built a temple. Not a small temple, not a rough pile of stones. A massive, sophisticated, deliberately designed complex with stone pillars weighing up to 50 tons, standing up to 6 meters tall, carved with intricate reliefs, animals, symbols, shapes that took real skill to produce. And here's what broke me. In 9,600 BC, the people who built this had no writing, no metal tools, no pottery, no wheels, no agriculture. They were hunter-gatherers, people who moved with the seasons, who hunted wild animals, who gathered wild plants, who left no permanent settlements anywhere else, anywhere. And yet, they built this, and then when they were done, when they had used it for 1,000 years, they buried it on purpose. They filled the entire structure with soil and rubble and walked away. And it sat there under a hill in southeastern Turkey for 11,000 years. While every civilization we know, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, Rome, China, rose and fell and rose again. While the pyramids were built and the Roman Empire expanded and collapsed, while Shakespeare wrote and Newton calculated and the Industrial Revolution transformed the world, that temple sat under that hill, untouched, unsuspected, until a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt arrived in 1994, looked at the hill and started digging. What he found changed everything we thought we knew about human history. And the questions it raises are still not answered. Tonight, I want to take you there. To Göbekli Tepe, the oldest temple on earth, and the greatest mystery in the story of our species. Part 1, the hill with the secret, discovery, and first impressions. The hill is called Göbekli Tepe. In Turkish, it means pot-belly hill, a round, slightly belly-shaped mound rising from the limestone plateau of the Harran Plain in southeastern Turkey, near the Syrian border, about 15 kilometers northeast of the city of Şanlıurfa, a hill that local farmers had noticed for generations, a hill with stones sticking up from the soil, stones that the farmers plowing their fields had been turning up for centuries. Broken, moved aside, unremarkable, just stones. In the 1960s, archaeologists from the University of Chicago and the University of Istanbul came to the region. They surveyed the area. They noted the hill. They found flint tools scattered on its surface. They recorded it, and they moved on. Their conclusion, probably a medieval cemetery. The stones were likely grave markers. Nothing significant, nothing worth excavating. They were wrong by about 10,000 years. Klaus Schmidt arrived in Etusin on 994. He was a German archaeologist with the German Archaeological Institute. He had been working in the region, looking at Neolithic sites from the period when humans first developed agriculture. The transition from hunter-gatherer to farmer, the most important transition in human history, and he came to Göbekli Tepe, almost by accident, just to have a look. He looked at the stones sticking out of the ground. He looked at the shape of the hill. He ran his hands along the carved surface of one of the exposed stones. And he knew this was not a cemetery. He knew this was not medieval. He knew with the certainty of someone who has spent decades working with ancient stone that this was something different, something extraordinary. He reportedly said to himself, either this is nothing or it is everything. It was everything. Schmidt returned the following year with a team. They began to excavate, and what came out of the ground was unlike anything in the archaeological record. Massive stone pillars, T-shaped, some weighing 10 tons, some weighing 20 tons, some in the deeper unexcavated sections, potentially reaching 50 tons, standing in circles, arranged with precision and carved, not scratched, not pecked, carved with sophisticated reliefs, a boar, a fox, a crane, a vulture, a bull, snakes, abstract symbols, human hands, the arms of the central pillars, the largest central T-shaped pillars in each circle carved to represent arms, hence belts, clothing. The pillars were not just pillars, they were figures, stylized human forms, standing in a circle, facing inward, in a temple built 11,500 years ago, by people who, according to every previous model of human history, should not have been capable of building it. The radiocarbon dates came back from the organic material found in the fill. The sediment packed around the pillars, devet shestobce, devet shestobce. Stonehenge was built around 3000 BC. The Great Pyramid of Giza was built around 2560 BC. The first cities in Mesopotamia appeared around 4000 BC. The first writing appeared around 3200 BC. Göbekli Tepe was already 6,000 years old when the first city was built. Already 7,000 years old when writing was invented. Already 8,000 years old when the first pharaoh united Egypt. The oldest temple on earth is twice as old as anything we previously called ancient. Part 2, who built it? The hunter-gatherers who shouldn't have been able. Let me tell you what we know about the people who built Göbekli Tepe, because this is where the mystery deepens. This is where the history books get complicated. The builders were pre-agricultural. This is confirmed, not contested. The layers of the site contain no evidence of domestic plants, no cultivated wheat, no cultivated barley, no domesticated animals. The bone fragments found in the fill are all from wild animals, Wildaurochs, wild gazelle, wild boar, wild deer. These were hunter-gatherers, people who lived by following game, by knowing which plants fruited when, by moving through the landscape in patterns, seasonal, nomadic, or semi-nomadic. Hunter-gatherers, by the standard archaeological model, did not build monuments. They did not build anything permanent, because permanence requires staying in one place, requires investing in something you will not be around to use next season. Monument building, the creation of large, permanent, labor-intensive structures, was supposed to come after agriculture. After people settled down, after surplus food allowed some members of the community to specialize, to be priests, to be architects, to be stonecutters. Not before. Not in the era before farming. Not in the era before written records. Not in the era before metal tools. This was the model, the accepted model for decades. and Göbekli Tepe broke it. The pillars at Göbekli Tepe were quarried from the limestone plateau nearby. The quarry has been found about 100 meters from the main excavation. Unfinished pillars still lie there, abandoned mid-carve. One of them, if it had been completed, would have been about 7 meters tall and weighed approximately 50 tons. 50 tons. Moved, erected by hunter-gatherers, without metal tools, without wheels, without draft animals. Horses and oxen had not yet been domesticated, using stone tools and ropes, perhaps, and wood and human effort, an enormous, organized, sustained human effort. How many people would it take? Experimental archaeology, the science of trying to replicate ancient construction techniques, gives some estimates. Moving a 10-ton pillar from the quarry to its final position over rough terrain, perhaps 500 people, all working together, all fed, all coordinated to move one stone. The site has at least 43 carved pillars that have been excavated so far. And geophysical surveys, ground-penetrating radar and magnetometry suggest that only about 5% of the site has been excavated. 95% remains underground. There may be 200 more pillars. There may be more circles, more structures. A city of stone under a hill in Turkey, still waiting to be uncovered. Feeding 500 people is not a trivial thing. For hunter-gatherers, you cannot simply summon 500 people to a location and expect them to stay for weeks or months. Moving these stones took time. Setting them required time. Carving them required more time. Someone was feeding the workers. Someone was organizing the labor. Someone was maintaining the community that made this possible. The logistics alone, the food, the water, the shelter, the organization, represent a social complexity that we did not think hunter-gatherers possessed. Not at this scale, not at this level. Göbekli Tepe forces us to revise our understanding of what pre-agricultural people were capable of dramatically. Some archaeologists have proposed that Göbekli Tepe itself drove the development of agriculture, not the other way around. The conventional model, agriculture led to settlement, led to surplus, led to monument building. The Göbekli Tepe model, monument building required gathering large numbers of people, which required reliable food supplies, which drove the intensification of food production, which eventually led to agriculture. The temple came first. Agriculture came after, not as a cause of monument building, but as a consequence, as a response to the demands of the monument. This is a radical reversal, and it is seriously debated among archaeologists. Notfringe, not speculative, a serious evidence-based proposal that changes the sequence of human history. Göbekli Tepe did not grow from civilization. Civilization may have grown from Göbekli Tepe. Part 3. The pillars themselves, what the stone says, let me describe the pillars, because they are the heart of the mystery, because the carvings on them are not simple, not crude, not what you would expect from people who were just beginning to experiment with stone cutting. The pillars are T-shaped. The shaft is rectangular. The top flares out to either side, like a capital letter T, except the T is upright, standing, and the proportions, the width of the crosspiece, the height of the shaft, are consistent, repeated across different pillars, across different centuries of construction. The shape was standardized, a specific intentional form chosen and maintained. The two central pillars in each enclosure are the largest. They are different from the others in a specific way. They have arms carved in low relief on the shaft, extending forward, hands carved at the end of the arms, reaching toward the center of the enclosure, and at the top of the shaft, where the arms meet the crosspiece, a bild, carved, a garment, or the representation of a garment. These are not abstract pillars. They are figures, stylized human forms, without faces, without distinct heads. The T-shaped top is the head, featureless, monumental, standing in the center, while the smaller carved pillars of the enclosure ring them. It is a gathering, a frozen gathering, in stone, of beings who have no faces, but have hands and belts and are clearly present, clearly intentional, clearly meaningful to the people who built them. The animal carvings are extraordinary, not in their size, in their quality. The artists who carved these animals 11,500 years ago with stone tools were skilled, genuinely skilled. The fox running along the side of a pillar, the snake winding through a field of abstract symbols, the crane with its wings spread, the bull lowering its head, the scorpion, the vulture, each one carved with an understanding of the animal's form, its movement, its character. These are not first attempts, not experiments. They are the product of a tradition, of a carving tradition that must have existed long before Göbekli Tepe, built up over generations, practiced and refined, a tradition of art that predates agriculture, that predates writing, that predates every civilization we have named. The variety of animals is significant. The site contains carvings of at least 30 different species, animals from different habitats: the lion, the wild boar, the wolf, the horse, birds of prey, water birds, insects, spiders, snakes, not a random selection, not just the animals they hunted. Some of them, the scorpion, the spider, the vulture, are dangerous, threatening, associated in many ancient cultures with death, with the underworld, with the passage between worlds. Some archaeologists believe the animal carvings represent a cosmological system, a belief system, a theology encoded in stone. The specific animals in specific positions on specific pillars, conveying meaning to the people who came here, meaning we have not yet decoded. The vulture stone, one pillar at Göbekli Tepe, is particularly mysterious. Pilar 43, in enclosure D, known as the vulture stone, it is covered in carvings, dense, layered, complex. At the top, a large bird, possibly a vulture with outstretched wings. Below it, a human figure, a headless human figure with a vulture perched on it, and a ball, a round object, being held up by the vulture, or resting on the human's head, depending on interpretation, around this central image. Other animals, a scorpion, a headless figure. More birds? What does it mean? Interpretations vary. Some researchers see it as a sky burial scene, the practice still done by some cultures today of leaving the dead exposed. For vultures to consume, the sky burial, the body returned to the sky, through birds, through the act of being eaten. Some researchers see it as an astronomical diagram. The vulture representing a specific constellation, the ball representing the sun or moon, a date encoded in stone, the date of a specific astronomical event, perhaps 10,950 BC, a date that some researchers calculate as a possible impact event, a comet, or a meteor shower, encoded in stone at the oldest temple on earth, These interpretations are contested, but they are not dismissed. They are actively studied by serious scholars because the image is real and the meaning is not obvious. And the possibilities are staggering. Part 4, the quarry and the logistics, how they actually did it. I want to take a moment to sit with the logistics because the how is as astonishing as the what. The limestone plateau around Göbekli Tepe contains the quarry where the pillars were cut. The stone is sedimentary limestone, formed from the accumulated shells of marine organisms, millions of years of ocean floor, compressed, lithified into stone, relatively soft for stone, cuttable with flint tools, but still stone, still enormously heavy. The tool marks on the quarried surfaces have been studied. They were made with flint chisels, hafted in handles, struck with stone hammers. The same technology used for the carving, stone tools. The entire construction, the quarrying, the shaping, the moving, the carving was done with stone tools. The Neolithic toolkit, no copper, no bronze, no iron, stone. And yet the precision, the scale, the ambition, staggering. Moving the pillars from the quarry to the site is the great unknown. We know where they started, the quarry. We know where they ended up, the enclosures. We do not know exactly how they got there. Several methods have been proposed. Wooden sledges, ropes made from plant fibers, a large workforce pulling in coordinated effort, earthen ramps, a combination of all of these. Experimental archaeology attempts to move large stones using only Neolithic technology suggests it is possible. Difficult, time-consuming, but possible. With enough people, with enough organization, with enough will. The question is, where did all those people come from? The region around Göbekli Tepe in 9600 BC was sparsely populated. The permanent population within a reasonable radius was small, far too small to provide the labor force that the construction required, which means people came from farther away. They gathered from across a wide region for specific periods to build or to celebrate or to perform whatever rituals the site was designed for. And then they left and came back and left and came back for 1,000 years. The provision of food for these gatherings is a puzzle in itself. Studies of the animal bones found in the fill, the material packed into the site when it was buried, tell a story. The bones are from wild animals, hunted, enormous quantities of them, enough to feed hundreds of people. For extended periods, the species represented wild aurochs, ancestors of cattle, wild boar, red deer, wild sheep, wild gazelle, all hunted, all processed at the site or near it. The feasts happened, large communal feasts of wild meat in connection with the rituals at the temple. The site was not just a temple, it was a gathering place, a feast site, a center of communal life. For a wide region, some researchers have suggested that the organization required by Göbekli Tepe, the feeding, the labor, the coordination, was the crucible of social complexity, that hierarchies emerged here, not from agriculture, not from the surplus of farming, but from the demands of collective ritual. Someone had to be in charge. Someone had to coordinate the labor. Someone had to manage the feasts. Someone had to say, this stone goes here. This animal is carved like this. This circle is closed now. We begin the next one. Leadership, social structure, authority, born not from the need to manage crops, but from the need to manage a sacred project, a project that lasted 1,000 years. That required generations of commitment that shaped the people who built it as much as they shaped it. Part 5, the deliberate burial, the greatest mystery, and now the most extraordinary part. The part that makes Göbekli Tepe unlike any other ancient site. The part that I cannot stop thinking about. Around 8,000 BC, approximately 1,600 years after the earliest structures were built, the site was buried. Deliberately, on purpose, filled with soil and limestone rubble. Carefully, the material was packed into the enclosures, around the pillars, between them, above them, until the entire site was covered, sealed, on a man-made hill. The hill that Klaus Schmidt recognized in 1994, the hill that contained everything. Why? This is the question that haunts Göbekli Tepe. Why bury a temple? Why take the effort, and filling a site of this size with soil and rubble was significant effort to conceal it? Was it a religious act, a ritual ending? The temple had served its purpose. The cycle was complete, and it was time to put it to rest, to return it to the earth. The way humans returned to the earth, was it protection? Were the builders threatened by enemies? By the unpredictable violence of the world? Did they bury the most sacred place to keep it from being desecrated, to keep it safe, for a future they would not live to see, a future they perhaps couldn't even imagine, but for which they were preparing? Was it transformation? In many ancient traditions, the act of burial is not an ending. It is a transformation. A seed is buried to become a plant. A body is buried to be reborn. Was the burial of Göbekli Tepe a cosmic act, a deliberate entrusting of something sacred to the earth, with no expectation of retrieval, just giving it back, returning what had been made to what it came from? We don't know. And that not knowing is part of what makes Göbekli Tepe extraordinary, because the people who buried it left no explanation, no inscription, no texts, no oral tradition that has survived 11,000 years to tell us why. They buried the temple and walked away, and whatever they knew, whatever they believed, whatever made this act meaningful to them, went with them into the dark. The burial preserved everything. The soil that was used to fill the site protected the carvings from weathering, kept the pillars standing, sealed in the organic material that allowed radiocarbon dating. The act of burial, whatever motivated it, created a perfect time capsule, an accidentally perfect preservation. Because of the burial, because of the deliberate concealment, Göbekli Tepe survived 11,000 years intact. If it'd been left open, exposed to the elements, weathered by wind and rain and frost, the carvings would have eroded, the pillars would have fallen, the site would be rubble. As many other ancient sites are rubble, the burial saved it, whatever the intention. Part 6. What came after the site across time? The story of Göbekli Tepe does not end with the burial. It continues for thousands of years. After the early enclosures were buried, new ones were built above them, on top of the hill that was forming. As the older structures were filled in, the later structures are different, smaller, the pillars shorter, the carvings less elaborate, the workmanship by some measures less refined, not cruder in a simple sense, different, as if the tradition was changing, evolving or declining, as if something was being lost. Over the centuries, the intensity, the ambition, The craftsmanship slowly diminishing. The site continued to be used in different ways through the Neolithic period, into the Chalcolithic, the Copper Age, into the Bronze Age, into the historical period. The hill was always recognized as significant by every culture that passed through the region. The Hittites, the Assyrians, the Greeks and Romans, they all left traces in the upper layers. None of them knew what was underneath. The hill sits near the ancient city of Urfa, which Greeks called Edessa, a city with an ancient tradition connecting it to the biblical patriarch Abraham. According to Islamic tradition, Abraham was born in Urfa, or near it. The cave of his birth is still visited by pilgrims, just a few kilometers from Göbekli Tepe. Whether there's any direct connection between the mythological traditions of the region and the actual ancient history of Göbekli Tepe is unknown, but the region has always been understood as a place of origin, of beginning, of something important, long before anyone knew what was under the hill. Part 7. The wider context, other mysterious ancient sites. Göbekli Tepe is not alone. It is the most famous, the best excavated, the oldest clearly dated, but it is not alone. Karahan Tepe, about 46 kilometers southeast of Göbekli Tepe, discovered more recently. In active excavation, similar T-shaped pillars, similar animal carvings, but with something Göbekli Tepe lacks. A chamber, a narrow, core-built chamber, in which a single large pillar stands. A pillar carved with a realistic human face, three-dimensional, looking out, with eyes, with a nose, not the featureless T of Göbekli Tepe, Afatse, a human face, carved in stone 11,000 years ago, looking at the people who entered the chamber, looking at you from the past, Karahan Tepe's human figure. In the chamber at Karahan Tepe, there's not just the face pillar, there is a torso, a three-dimensional carved stone torso, emerging from the floor as if buried, as if sunk into the ground, only the upper body visible, the head detached, not attached to the body, but present nearby. The image is disturbing in a way I cannot fully articulate. A figure emerging from the earth, or sinking into it without its head, in a space designed for ritual, at the bottom of a chamber underground, 11,000 years ago. What did it mean to the person who knelt in that chamber? In the dark, with that figure? We don't know, and the not knowing is the weight of it. Taş Tepeler, the umbrella project covering multiple sites in the same region. Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, Taş Tepeler, Yeni Mahalle, Harbetsuvan Tepesi, a cluster of sites, all in the same general region, all from approximately the same period, all with similar characteristics: T-shaped pillars, animal carvings, evidence of communal gatherings, deliberate burial. This was not a single site created by a single community. This was a cultural tradition shared across a wide region, a tradition of building enclosures with T-shaped pillars, of carving animals on stone, of gathering for communal ritual. A culture, a civilization, before what we call civilization began. Çatalhöyük, a different kind of ancient site in central Turkey, dating from approximately 7,500 to 5,700 BC. A genuine settlement, a town, perhaps a city, one of the largest and best preserved Neolithic settlements ever found. 8,000 people living in mud brick houses, clustered so tightly together that there were no streets. Access to houses was through holes in the roof, reached by ladders. Çatalhöyük is interesting for what it reveals about the inner life of Neolithic people. The walls of the houses are painted with geometric patterns, with animals, with hunting scenes. The dead are buried beneath the floors, beneath the living space, beneath the platform where people slept. The ancestors are present, in a very literal sense, below the feet of the living, nearby, accessible, the boundary between the living and the dead, permeable, thin, in a way that our culture, which segregates the dead into cemeteries at a distance from the living, does not normally experience. Nevalisori, near Göbekli Tepe, a site with T-shaped pillars, but with one extraordinary additional element, a pillar topped not with the abstract T of Göbekli Tepe, but with a human head, a carved stone head with a snake carved on it, the snake coiled on the back of the head, as if the serpent is whispering to the figure, or wearing it, or emerging from it. Nevalisori was unfortunately flooded by the construction of the Atatürk Dam in 1992. The artifacts were removed to museums. The site is underwater, another ancient place reclaimed by water. Before we could fully understand it, Part 8, what it means revising our understanding of human history. Göbekli Tepe changed archaeology, not incrementally, fundamentally. Let me explain what it actually changed. The old model of human development was linear, a progression, simple to complex, hunter-gatherer to farmer, farmer to settled village, village to town, town to city, city to civilization, civilization to writing, writing to history, a staircase, ascending, step by step, and Göbekli Tepe sits at the bottom of that staircase, in a place where nothing was supposed to be, at the level labeled simple, primitive, pre-social, before complexity. And what Göbekli Tepe tells us is the model was wrong, or at least incomplete. The people who built Göbekli Tepe were not simple. They were not primitive. They had a rich cultural life, a sophisticated belief system, a tradition of art, a capacity for social organization, a relationship with the world, with animals, with the sky, with death that was complex and nuanced and expressed in stone, with extraordinary skill. They were fully human in every sense, not proto-humans, not halfway up the staircase, fully human, fully capable of the things that we think make us human. Wonder, art, ritual, community, the impulse to build something larger than yourself. They had all of that before agriculture, before cities, before writing, before everything we normally associate with civilization. This has profound implications. If the capacity for complex thought, for art, for religion, for social organization predates agriculture by thousands of years, then those capacities are not products of civilization. They are not consequences of settled life. They are something older, something that was present before any of that, something that is perhaps fundamental to what we are, part of our nature, not developed by culture, expressed by culture, but present before culture, in the deep biology of a species that evolved in Africa over hundreds of thousands of years and arrived fully human in the Neolithic, ready to build temples, ready to carve animals in stone, ready to stand beneath carved pillars in firelight, and perform whatever rituals the pillars presided over, without needing civilization first. Part 9. The astronomy question. Was it also an observatory? Let me tell you about one of the more controversial proposals. I want to be clear, this is contested, debated, not settled, but it is fascinating, and I find it worth considering. The enclosures at Göbekli Tepe are not randomly oriented. The central pillars in each enclosure, the two large T-shaped central figures, face each other. They are aligned north, south, or towards specific astronomical targets. Different researchers have proposed different targets. Some, the star Deneb, a bright star in the constellation Cygnus, which at the epoch of 9600 BC, due to the precession of the equinoxes, sat near the north celestial pole, the point around which the sky appeared to rotate, the axis of the heavens. Some enclosures at Göbekli Tepe appear to be oriented toward Deneb, as if pointing to the center of the sky. A paper published in 2017 by researchers Martin Sweatman and Dimitrios Tsikritsis proposed that Pillar 43, the vulture stone, depicts a specific astronomical event, a comet impact, or a catastrophic meteor shower, around 10,950 BC, the Younger Dryas period, a period of sudden dramatic climate cooling that happened rapidly. In the span of decades, that transformed the Northern Hemisphere. The animals carved on Pillar 43, they proposed, represent constellations. The vulture represents Sagittarius. The scorpion represents Scorpius. The headless figure below represents the sun. The round ball represents the sun at the moment of impact. The date when the sun was in the position relative to those constellations represented on the pillar. The date of the cosmic disaster, recorded in stone, at the oldest temple on earth. This interpretation is controversial. Other archaeologists have pushed back. The assignment of constellations to carved animals is not secure. The astronomical calculations depend on interpretive choices that not everyone accepts. The evidence for a specific cosmic impact event at 10,950 BC is itself debated. I am not telling you this is true. I am telling you it is possible. And the fact that it is possible that the carvings at Göbekli Tepe are complex enough and the astronomical questions pointed enough that this interpretation can even be seriously proposed and published in peer-reviewed journals, that itself tells us something about the sophistication of the people who made them, about the richness of what they left behind, about how much we don't know. What we can say with more confidence is this: the people who built Göbekli Tepe lived under the open sky every night, without electric light, without walls, without any barrier between themselves and the stars. They knew the sky intimately. They knew the movements of the stars, the rising and setting of specific stars at specific seasons, the positions of the planets, the cycles of the moon, the rhythms of the year. This knowledge was not written down, but it was encoded in the shape of enclosures, in the orientation of pillars, in the specific animals chosen for specific positions. The sky was present at Göbekli Tepe, the night sky, in stone. Part 10. The question of religion, what they believed. Was Göbekli Tepe a temple? The word temple implies a religion, a theology, a system of belief. Gods, priests, rituals. Can we apply those concepts to a site from 9,000 600 BC. Klaus Schmidt believed so. He called Göbekli Tepe the first temple. He believed the site was fundamentally a religious place, a place where people gathered to worship, to perform rituals, in the presence of the carved pillars, which he believed represented deities, or ancestors, or both. The T-shaped pillars as gods, standing in their circles, receiving the worship of the people who gathered. Other archaeologists are more cautious. The word temple may impose too much of our own cultural framework. Sacred space is broader, more flexible, a place where ordinary life was suspended, where different rules applied, where the boundaries between the living and the dead, between the human and the animal, between the present and the past, were permeable, a place of power, not necessarily in the way we think of divine power, but power concentrated in the stone, in the carvings, in the rituals performed here. The animals on the pillars are key. Animals are not random subjects for sacred art. In hunter-gatherer societies studied across the world, in many different cultures, animals have profound symbolic and spiritual significance. Animals as totems, as clan ancestors, as spirit guides, as the embodiment of particular qualities: power, speed, cunning, ferocity, the ability to see in the dark. The fox at Göbekli Tepe, the snake, the vulture, these were not just animals that people hunted or feared. They were beings they had a relationship with, a deep, ancient relationship, encoded in their cosmology, in their understanding of how the world worked. And that relationship was expressed in stone, on the pillars, in the enclosures of the oldest temple on earth. The presence of death is significant. Vultures, headless figures, human skulls found in the fill, some of them bearing cut marks, evidence of intentional modification, possibly carved, possibly kept as objects of veneration. Death is present at Göbekli Tepe, not as a thing to be hidden or feared in silence, but as a subject, a theme, something to be confronted, ritualized, perhaps transformed. The people who came to this place grappled with death, as humans always have, and they carved their grappling into stone, in animals associated with death, in figures without heads, in the sky burials depicted on the pillars. The dead were not separate from the living at Göbekli Tepe. They were present in the stone, in the ritual, in whatever happened here, in the firelight, under the stars. Part 11, the excavation story. Klaus Schmidt and his life's work. Klaus Schmidt devoted his professional life to Göbekli Tepe. He began excavating in 1995. He continued every season until his death. In 2014, he died suddenly of a heart attack. While on vacation, he was 61. He never saw the site fully excavated. He never got the answers to the questions he had spent 20 years asking. Schmidt was not a romantic figure. He was methodical, patient, scientific. He was careful with his interpretations. He insisted on the data, on what could be demonstrated, on the evidence, and yet he had clearly been captured by the site, by its mystery, by what it meant. He once said that Göbekli Tepe was not just another archaeological site, that it was a challenge to everything we thought we knew about ourselves, about our past, about what we are. He was right. Schmidt's death was a loss to archaeology, but the excavation continues. under the direction of Lee Clare of the German Archaeological Institute. New enclosures are being revealed, new pillars, new carvings. Each season bringing new discoveries, new questions, new mysteries. The site is not finished giving up its secrets. It has barely started. In 2018, Göbekli Tepe was inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Recognition of its extraordinary significance for all of humanity, not just for Turkey, for everyone, for every person who has ever wondered where we came from, what we were capable of before history began. Part 12, Parallel Mysteries, Other Unexplained Ancient Constructions. Göbekli Tepe is the most dramatic, but it is not the only ancient place that challenges our assumptions. Let me take you on a brief tour of the other places where the past refuses to fit the model. The Sphinx, the Great Sphinx of Giza, carved directly from the limestone bedrock of the Giza Plateau. 73 meters long, 20 meters tall. The conventional dating, about 4,500 years old, carved during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre. But there is a controversy. Geologist Robert Choke, a geologist, not a fringe theorist, examined the erosion patterns on the Sphinx and concluded that the erosion is consistent with water erosion, not wind erosion, not sand erosion, water, rain, sustained rainfall. The kind of rainfall that last occurred in the Giza region about 10,000 to 7,000 years ago during the African humid period, before the Sahara became a desert. If Schoch is right, and this is contested by many Egyptologists, the Sphinx is much older than we think, perhaps as old as Göbekli Tepe, or older. The debate continues. The evidence is disputed, but the question itself, that the question can even be seriously raised by a serious geologist, tells us something about how much we don't know. Pumapunku, in Bolivia, near the shores of Lake Titicaca, part of the larger Tiwanaku complex. The ruins of a structure made from enormous blocks of stone, some of them weighing 100 tons or more, could, with extraordinary precision, straight edges, right angles, complex interlocking joints. The precision is what astonishes. How did they cut stone this precisely? With bronze tools? With stone tools? The cuts look almost machined, not because they actually are, but because the conventional tools we associate with that period do not obviously produce results of that quality. The Tiwanaku people were sophisticated. Their stonework was extraordinary. But the specific techniques that produce the precision at Pumapunku are not fully understood. The Sacsayhuaman fortress. Above Cusco, Peru, the Inca capital, walls built from enormous stones, some weighing 200 tons, more fitted together without mortar, so precisely that a knife blade cannot be inserted between them. The stones are not regular shapes. They are irregular polygons, multiple sides, multiple angles, fitted together like a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle, each stone shaped to fit perfectly against its neighbors. How did the Inca cut irregular polygonal stones to fit this precisely? Without metal tools, without instruments we would recognize as measuring devices. The answer is, we don't fully know. We know they were skilled, extraordinarily skilled, but the specific technique, the actual method by which hundreds of tons of stone were shaped to fit together this precisely without the tools we would use today, is not fully understood. Stonehenge, the most famous the most studied and still mysterious. The blue stones, the smaller stones, were transported from Wales, about 250 kilometers, across water, across land, in the Neolithic, without wheels, without metal tools. The logistics are staggering, even for the smallest of the Stonehenge stones, weighing 2 to 5 tons, transported 250 kilometers. The sarsen stones, the large ones forming the outer ring, came from Marlborough Downs, about 25 kilometers away, some weighing 25 tons. The mechanism of transport suggested, but not proven, the purpose of Stonehenge. Solar calendar, burial site, healing center, all have been proposed. None conclusively established. The Nazca lines. In the desert of southern Peru, enormous geoglyphs etched into the surface of the desert, lines that run perfectly straight for kilometers, figures a spider, a hummingbird, a monkey, a whale, visible only from the air, made by removing the reddish surface stones to reveal the yellow-white soil beneath. Who made them? Between about 400 and 650 AD. Why they were made? Why the figures are so large they can only be appreciated from above? Who was meant to see them from above? These questions do not have definitive answers. The straight lines may have been ritual walking paths. The figures may have been offerings to gods who lived in the sky, or to ancestors, or to water sources. The desert preserved them for 1,500 years, waiting for the airplane, before anyone could see what they had made. Part 13, the cave paintings, art from the deep past. Before Göbekli Tepe, before any stone monument, there was art in caves. The Chauvet Cave in southern France, discovered in 1994, the same year as the beginning of the Göbekli Tepe excavation. A coincidence or a message from the past? Two extraordinary discoveries in the same year, both reshaping everything we thought we knew. The paintings in Chauvet Cave are dated to approximately 32,000 to 36,000 years ago. 32,000 years, 3 times older than the oldest previously known cave paintings. At the time of discovery, the oldest known art, and the quality was staggering. Rhinoceroses, lion, mammoths, horses, bears, painted with extraordinary skill, perspective, movement, shading, techniques that we associate with much more recent art. An artist 35,000 years ago understood how to show depth, how to show a horse in motion, how to use the contours of the cave wall itself to give 3-dimensional form to the painted animal. Werner Herzog made a film about Chauvet Cave, Cave of Forgotten Dreams. In it, he interviews one of the archaeologists who describes a particular experience standing in the cave, in front of the paintings, in the flickering light of a torch. The animals move, not metaphorically, literally, in the flickering light. The animal seems to breathe, to walk, to run. The artist 35,000 years ago knew this, chose this, painted the animals so that they would move in firelight, in the flickering torchlight. That was the intended viewing condition. Not daylight, firelight, the oldest cinema, 35,000 years before the first movie. Why did people go deep into caves to make art? The caves are dark, sometimes extremely remote from the entrance, sometimes requiring crawling through narrow passages, sometimes requiring climbing. The artists had to carry their pigments, their tools, their light deep into the earth to make images that almost no one would ever see in darkness, on walls. Why? The theories, shamanic ritual, the cave as a gateway to the spirit world, the paintings as a summoning, a calling of the animals, or a thanks, or a record of the animals that made life possible, honored in the deepest, darkest, most permanent space available. We don't know. We can't know the motivation, only the act, and the extraordinary beauty of what they made in the dark, the Lascaux cave, 17,000 years ago, in the Dordogne region of France, discovered in 1940 by 4 teenage boys following their dog into a hole. Extraordinary paintings. The Hall of the Bulls, enormous aurochs covering the ceiling, black and red and ochre. The swimming stags, deer crossing a river, their antlers raised. A landscape in paint, 17,000 years ago, Altamira Cave in Spain, discovered in 1879 by the young daughter of an amateur archaeologist, a girl named Maria, who looked up at the ceiling and saw bison painted there. Her father called the scientists, who didn't believe him, who thought the paintings were forgeries, too good, too skilled to be genuinely prehistoric. Surely no one that ancient could paint this well. They were wrong. The paintings are approximately 14,000 to 21,000 years old, and they are extraordinary. Bison painted with such force and movement that they seem alive, that they seem about to leave the ceiling and enter the room. Maria saw them first, a child, looking up in 1879. Part 14, the first cities when everything changed from Göbekli Tepe to the first cities. About 5,000 years of transition, not a sudden leap, a gradual, complex, multi-directional process. Jericho, often called the oldest continuously inhabited city on earth, in the Jordan Valley, occupied since approximately 9000 BC, near the end of the Göbekli Tepe period, a permanent settlement with walls, with a tower, the famous Tower of Jericho, built around 8000 BC, before any civilization we typically name Otametistal, made of stone, with an internal staircase. Why was it built? For defense, for ritual, for flood warning, or as a statement of permanence? We are here. We are not moving. This is ours. The tower stood for thousands of years before the walls that Joshua's army brought down, before the city that the Bible describes. Before any of that, the tower was there, standing. Chatalhuik, Sedem Pechtatopet, Sedem Stobetse, 8,000 people, a real town. By any reasonable definition, people living together in mud brick houses, without streets, entering their homes through the roof, with their dead buried beneath them, in a city where the living and the dead coexisted, literally in the same space, above and below. Uruk in Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, around 4000 to 3000 BC, the first true city, by the definitions most archaeologists use, a population in the tens of thousands. Monumental architecture, an administrative system, writing, the first writing, invented not for literature, not for poetry, not for religion, for accounting, for keeping track of grain and livestock and labor, the first thing humans ever wrote was a receipt, the oldest known written document, a clay tablet, saying how much grain was received from whom and when, accounting. The first writing was bookkeeping. This tells us something about what drove the invention of writing, about the pressures of urban life, the complexity of managing a city, of managing a surplus, of keeping track of the transactions that make urban civilization possible. The gap between Göbekli Tepe and Uruk, about 6,000 years, an enormous span of time in which everything changed and nothing changed. The people who built Göbekli Tepe were fully human. The people who built Uruk were fully human, the same species, the same basic capacities, the same range of emotions, the same desires, the same fears. The transition from hunter-gatherer to city dweller was not a change in human nature. It was a change in context, in organization, in the accumulation of technology and social structure that allowed more people to live together in more complex arrangements, producing more, managing more, but always underneath the same human who stood at Göbekli Tepe 11,500 years ago and carved the fox in limestone, because something about the world compelled them to. Part 15, the mystery of ritual, why humans perform ceremonies. Göbekli Tepe was a ritual city. Whatever else it was, a place where people gathered to do something that was not just practical, not just functional, something that exceeded the merely useful. Ritual. Ritual is universal. Every human culture practices ritual. Every culture has ceremonies, celebrations of birth, of death, of transition, of the seasons, of the harvest, of war and peace, of the sacred, whatever the sacred means to a given culture. Ritual is as universal as language, as universal as art, as universal as love. Why? What is ritual for? What function does it serve? That it persists across all cultures, across all of history, tells us that it serves some function. Ritual is not an accident, not a mistake, not something that would have disappeared if it were useless. It has persisted because it does something, several things, probably. Ritual creates social cohesion. People who perform rituals together, especially synchronous rituals where they move together, breathe together, chant together, feel bonded more strongly than people who cooperate without ritual. The shared experience, the shared vulnerability, the shared meaning create connection, community, tribal identity. Ritual says we are the people who do this thing and you are not, or we are all the people who do this thing and we are together in a world that can be lonely and terrifying. Ritual creates belonging. Ritual manages the experience of death, of loss, of the overwhelming fact of mortality. Without ritual, without ceremony, without the structure that ritual provides, death is chaos. Grief is uncontained. The loss of someone important threatens the coherence of the community. Ritual channels that grief, gives it a form, a duration, a direction, the funeral, the burial, the period of mourning, the rituals that mark the transition from life to death. These are practical necessities, not luxuries, for a social species that forms deep bonds and must somehow continue after those bonds are broken. Ritual makes contact with what is beyond ordinary experience. This is the most mysterious function and perhaps the most fundamental. In almost every culture, ritual is a way of accessing the sacred, the divine, the transcendent, whatever word a culture uses for what is beyond, for what is more real than ordinary reality, or more powerful, or more permanent. Ritual is the technology for approaching that thing, for making contact, for the communication between the human and the whatever's beyond. Göbekli Tepe was built for this, or something like this. The people who stood between those carved pillars were reaching towards something they believed was there, something on the other side of the carved animals, the carved figures, the deliberate space, the gathered community, something they were trying to touch. We can't know what they believed. We can only see what they built. And what they built says this mattered. This was worth 50-ton stones, worth 1,000 years of labor, worth the deliberate burial, the entrusting to the earth. Whatever they believed it enough to build one of the most extraordinary structures in human history, and to leave it for us 11,000 years later, still asking what it meant. Part 16, the animals of the past, the world that Göbekli Tepe knew. The world of Göbekli Tepe was not our world. The animals carved on its pillars were real animals. The animals that the builders hunted, that they lived alongside, that they feared and respected. The aurochs, the wild ancestor of domestic cattle, carved on several pillars, a massive animal, larger than modern cattle. A bull aurochs could weigh 1,000 kilograms, with horns spanning more than 2 meters, a dangerous prey animal, requiring skill and courage to hunt. The last aurochs died in Poland in 1627, hunted to extinction. The wild boar, still alive today, still hunted, but in 9,600 BC, larger and more numerous, a significant prey animal, dangerous when cornered, with impressive tusks, carved with obvious respect for its power. The wild horse, before domestication, running free across the Anatolian plateau, present in the carvings at Göbekli Tepe. The horses that would later be domesticated around 4000 BC in the Eurasian steppe had ancestors who ran past this temple, wild, free, 11,500 years before anyone ever put a bridle on one. The crane, a migratory bird, still passing through Turkey every year in enormous flocks. Their calls extraordinary, loud, resonant, described by those who hear them as one of the most remarkable sounds in nature. The builders of Göbekli Tepe heard those calls. Every year, in spring, the cranes coming back, a sign of the season's return, carved in stone to mark the cycle. The animals of Göbekli Tepe were not just food, they were characters in a cosmology, each one with meaning, with associations, with a place in the story of how the world worked. The fox, often associated in later folklore of the region with cunning, with deception, with the spirit world. The snake, associated with death and renewal, with the cycle of shedding skin, with transformation, with the underworld. The vulture, the animal that consumes the dead, that transforms death into life, that returns the body to the sky. The scorpion, dangerous, deadly, associated in many ancient cosmologies with darkness, with the underworld, with protection. Each animal, a word in a language we don't fully speak. Part 17, the question of writing, before language was written. The people of Göbekli Tepe did not have writing, but they had something. They had symbols, abstract symbols, carved on the pillars, H shapes, C shapes, geometric patterns, arms, hands. The symbols recur across different pillars, across different enclosures, across different periods of the site's use. They were meaningful to the people who made them and preserved and repeated. Were they proto-writing, the first steps toward a system of notation, or were they simply symbols with specific meanings, without constituting a writing system, without grammar, without the possibility of creating arbitrary new messages? We don't know. The symbols have not been decoded. They may never be. Without a Rosetta Stone, without a bilingual text, without any key, the symbols of Göbekli Tepe are a language we cannot read, a message in stone from 11,500 years ago, still waiting to be understood. The first writing in Mesopotamia around 3,200 BC began as accounting, as pictographs, simple pictures representing objects, and then combinations of pictures, and then more abstract representations, and then syllabic signs, and then an alphabet. The evolution took about 1,000 years, from the first clay tablets to the Epic of Gilgamesh, from receipts to literature, 1,000 years. But before that writing, before those first clay tablets, people had other ways of recording things and transmitting them: memory, song, story, the oral tradition, the ability to memorize and transmit enormous quantities of knowledge in poetic form, in narrative form, in myth. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest written stories, was almost certainly a much older oral story, written down when writing became possible, but existing for perhaps thousands of years before it was written. The Vedas of ancient India, composed around 1,500 BC, were memorized and transmitted orally for centuries before being written down. The oral tradition is an extraordinary technology for preserving knowledge across generations. Without writing, the builders of Göbekli Tepe had the oral tradition, their myths and stories and knowledge preserved in memory, in song, transmitted from parent to child, from elder to youth, for thousands of years. We have lost all of it. Not a fragment survives. Part 18. The world then, the climate, the landscape, the life, southeastern Turkey in 9,600 BC. Let me describe what the world looked like, what the builders of Göbekli Tepe would have seen stepping outside the enclosures. Looking out across the plateau, the climate was wetter, more humid than today. The region was not the semi-arid landscape it is now. It was forested or partially forested, with more trees, more water, more wildlife. The Harran Plain where Göbekli Tepe stands was a richer, lusher place. Before thousands of years of grazing and farming transformed it, before the climate dried, wild wheat and barley grew here. In the hills around Göbekli Tepe, the wild ancestors of the crops that would transform human life. Einkorn wheat, the ancestor of all modern bred wheat, has its center of origin in the hills of southeastern Turkey, within walking distance of Göbekli Tepe, the same hills where the builders gathered their food, where they watched the seasons, where they learned the patterns of the wild grasses, when they ripened, where they grew densest, how to harvest them, how to store them, the knowledge that would eventually lead to agriculture was already present in the people of Göbekli Tepe, waiting for the conditions that would push it into practice. The animals were here in greater numbers, aurochs grazing on the plain, wild boar in the forests, gazelle moving in herds across the grassland, wild sheep on the rocky hillsides, and the hunters moving through this landscape, knowing it, reading its signs, the direction of the wind, the tracks in the soil, the calls of birds that signal the presence of predators, the smell of water from a distance, the skills of people who lived entirely on what the land provided, who knew this particular land, these particular hills, these particular animals intimately, the way we know our neighborhood streets, the night sky, undimmed by light pollution, no cities, no industry, no electric light anywhere on the planet. The sky as dark as it gets, every star visible, the Milky Way blazing, the planets moving against the fixed stars, predictably, reliably, the moon cycling through its phases. The builders of Göbekli Tepe knew this sky. Every person alive then knew this sky. The way we know faces, the way we know the sound of our own language. The sky was not a mystery to them. It was a companion, a calendar, a guide. The night sky that we have largely lost access to was theirs. Every night, part 19, the legacy, what Göbekli Tepe means for us today. Why does it matter? Why should we care about a site 11,500 years old? In southeastern Turkey, what does it change about our lives? It changes the story we tell about ourselves. And that matters, because the story we tell about ourselves shapes how we understand ourselves. And how we understand ourselves shapes how we treat each other. And how we treat each other is everything. The old story, humans were simple and primitive until agriculture, until civilization, until all the things we associate with progress and development. Before that, brutes, living short, brutal lives, without art, without spirituality, without social complexity, without anything we would recognize as culture. The old story was wrong, and it had consequences. It implied a hierarchy, a progress, that some peoples, the civilized, were further along the path, and others, the primitive, were earlier, closer to the brute, less developed. This story justified a lot. Colonialism, the dispossession of indigenous peoples, the dismissal of traditional knowledge, the arrogance of development. Göbekli Tepe tells a different story. That complexity, sophistication, art, spirituality, social organization, these are not products of civilization. They are part of our nature, present wherever humans are. Always, under any conditions, hunter-gatherer or farmer, nomad or city dweller. There is no primitive human. There is only human, and human has always been capable of extraordinary things. When given the reason to build them, it also changes the story about where we are going. The progress narrative says we are moving towards something better, from primitive to civilized, from simple to complex, from ignorant to knowledgeable. Göbekli Tepe says it's more complicated than that. Something was lost. The people who built Göbekli Tepe had a relationship with the natural world, with the animals around them, with the sky, with death, with the sacred, that we have largely lost in the acceleration of the last 10,000 years. Not because we became better, because we changed, because we traded some things for others, and some of what we traded away was precious. The question of whether civilization on balance has made us more or less than we were is not obvious, is not settled. Göbekli Tepe makes it harder to answer simply. Part 20. The questions that remain, what we still don't know. Let me list the questions. The ones that keep archaeologists awake at night, the ones that may never be answered. Why was it built? The most fundamental question, and the least answered. A temple, we say, a sacred space. But why here? Why this particular hilltop? Why this particular form? What was the purpose of the ritual that was performed here? What were the people seeking? What did they believe they found? Who organized it? Who had the authority to command the labor? To direct the carving? To decide which animals appeared on which pillars? Was there a priesthood, a chieftain, a prophet? Or was the authority distributed, shared among elders, among those who knew the sky, who knew the animals, who knew the patterns that governed the world? We don't know. And the absence of written records means we may never know. Who decided to bury it? This is perhaps the most haunting question. Someone, some person, at some meeting, in some conversation we will never reconstruct, decided that it was time, that the temple had served its purpose, that it should be returned to the earth. Who was that person? What was their reasoning? What did they feel watching the enclosures fill with soil? Watching the pillars disappear beneath the rubble? Did they grieve? Did they celebrate? Did they believe they were doing something sacred or something necessary, something practical? We have no way of knowing. The decision is as mysterious as the construction. What happened to the people? The builders of Göbekli Tepe, their descendants eventually became farmers. The transition happened in this region. Around this time, the wild einkorn wheat that grew in these hills was domesticated here. The wild sheep that grazed on these hillsides were domesticated here. Did the builders of Göbekli Tepe make that transition? Or were they displaced? Absorbed? Did their culture survive into the farming period? Did their beliefs persist, transform, survive in fragments in the later religions of Mesopotamia, in the myths of the region, in the stories about gardens and Sorbonne, and the origin of things? We don't know. The genetic evidence suggests continuity. The people of the region stayed. Their descendants are still there. In southeastern Turkey, in Syria, in Iraq, the genetic thread continues. But the cultural thread, the meaning of the carved pillars, the purpose of the enclosures, the name of whatever they worshipped, that thread broke. Somewhere in the 6,000 years between Göbekli Tepe and the first writing, broke and was lost. What is still underground? Only 5% of the site has been excavated. 95% remains, sealed under the hill, under 11,000 years of accumulated soil and rubble. What is down there? More enclosures, more pillars, more carvings, almost certainly, but also possibly something unexpected, something that changes the picture again. As every major discovery at the site has changed the picture. The pillar with human arms changed the picture. The evidence of deliberate burial changed the picture. The geophysical survey showing the extent of the unexcavated site changed the picture. What else is waiting? We don't know. And the not knowing is its own kind of excitement, its own kind of anticipation. Part 21. The ongoing excavation what's being found right now, the excavation of Göbekli Tepe did not stop with Klaus Schmidt. It continues every season. New discoveries emerging from the soil. In recent years, researchers have found something unexpected in the fill. The material used to bury the site, human skulls, fragments of human skulls, with unusual markings, cut marks, incised lines, grooves running along the top of the skulls in specific patterns. The skulls were deliberately modified. After death, the cut marks are not from defleshing, not from the ordinary preparation of a body. They are intentional incisions made with flint tools. With care, the skulls were being worked, shaped, marked. Why? Were they being prepared for display, for veneration? Were they objects of ritual, trophy skulls from enemies, or the skulls of ancestors? Honored, kept close, spoken to. The skull cult, the practice of keeping and venerating the skulls of the dead, is known from many Neolithic sites in the region. At Jericho, plastered skulls were found, human skulls with their features recreated in plaster, with shells for eyes. The faces of the dead, preserved, for whatever reason, drove the living to preserve them. The skulls at Göbekli Tepe fit this tradition, but the specific markings are unusual. They are being studied, interpreted, debated. The answers are not final. Lithic analysis, the study of the stone tools found at the site, has revealed something interesting. The tools are not from local stone. Some of them, the flint, the obsidian, came from distant sources. Obsidian from volcanic sources in Cappadocia, hundreds of kilometers away. The people who came to Göbekli Tepe, or the goods they brought, traveled long distances. This was not a local event, not a village ceremony. It drew people from across a wide region, a pilgrimage site, perhaps the first pilgrimage site in human history. People traveling to a sacred place, bringing things, leaving things, being part of something larger than their own community. Pollen analysis from the sediment, the microscopic pollen grains preserved in the fill, telling us what plants grew near the site. In devet shestobece, cereals, wild cereals, and the possible evidence of early cultivation, early management of wild plants, the boundary between wild and domesticated in the soil at Göbekli Tepe, the moment of transition preserved in pollen at the oldest temple on earth. Part 22, the human impulse, what Göbekli Tepe tells us about our nature. I want to slow down here. At the end of our journey, and just sit with what Göbekli Tepe tells us about what we are. We are a species that builds temples before we build anything else, before cities, before farms, before writing, before the things we normally associate with civilization. We build sacred spaces. We carve meaning into stone. We gather in the dark around the carved figures, and we reach towards something beyond the ordinary, something that we cannot name precisely, but that we feel in certain places, at certain times, in the presence of certain things. We feel it, and we build to honor it, to approach it, to make contact. This impulse is not a product of civilization. It predates civilization by thousands of years. It is in us, deeper than culture, deeper than history, in the biology of a species that evolved consciousness and found itself conscious in a world it did not ask to be born into. and had to make sense of. The builders of Göbekli Tepe were asking the same questions we ask. Why are we here? What does death mean? What is the relationship between humans and the natural world? What is beyond what we can see? What are we supposed to do? With the brief time we have, they could not answer those questions. No one can. Not then, not now, not ever, perhaps, but they built an answer, a provisional answer in stone that said, this matters. This is worth 50-ton pillars. This is worth 1,000 years of labor. This is worth burying and trusting to the earth for whoever comes after, for whoever asks the same questions in a different time, in a different language, in a different world. We are whoever comes after. We are the ones who found it, who opened the time capsule, who looked at the carved fox and the carved snake and the headless figure and asked, what does this mean? And found ourselves unable to answer, but unable to stop asking. That inability to stop asking is the thread between us and them 11,500 years. And the same question, still open, still worth asking, still worth building a temple for. Part 23. The return to earth. Being here now. We have come a long way tonight. From a hilltop in southeastern Turkey, through 11,000 years, through the caves of Lascaux, through the logistics of moving 50-ton stones, through the mystery of the deliberate burial, through the question of what the carved animals meant, through the first cities and the first writing, through the parallel mysteries of other ancient sites, through the philosophy of ritual, through the ongoing excavation, and back to here, to now, to this room, to this breath. Let me tell you what I carry. From Göbekli Tepe, I carry the knowledge that the impulse to build something meaningful, something larger than yourself, something that honors the world, that tries to make contact with what is beyond, is ancien, is not a product of civilization, is not something we developed. It is something we are in the bone, in the biology, in whatever it is that makes us human. I carry the knowledge that most of what mattered, most of what was real and important and meaningful to the people who built this place is gone, not surviving, lost. The names, the beliefs, the stories, the rituals performed in the firelight, the specific meanings of the specific carvings, all gone. And yet, the fact of what they built, the stone fact, the actual physical, archaeologically recoverable fact, survives. They built something that lasted 11,000 years. Even though everything they intended, everything they meant, everything they were trying to say is beyond our reach. The intention gone, the structure standing. I carry the question, the open, unanswerable, probably never to be answered question, why did they bury it? I carry it not as a frustration, but as a gift, the gift of genuine mystery. In a world where most questions have answers, or will eventually have answers, this one may not. This one may remain open. And the openness, the honest, irreducible not knowing, is its own kind of treasure. The long sleep, final descent. Let your breathing slow now. The images are here if you want them. The T-shaped pillar standing in the firelight, the carved fox running along the limestone, the vulture on pillar 43, the headless figure, the deliberate filling, the soil rising, the pillars disappearing, the hill forming, and then the silence, 11,000 years of silence. The world changing above. Egypt rising and falling. Rome rising and falling. Languages born and dying. The world becoming unrecognizable to those who buried it. And underneath, still, patient, the fox, still running, the snake, still winding, the unnamed figures, still standing in their circle, waiting. The question of who built it does not need an answer tonight. The question of why they buried it does not need an answer tonight. The questions will still be there when you wake, when the morning comes, when the light returns. For now, let the weight of your body settle. Let the breath find its own rhythm, slow, steady, like the turning of the earth, like the passage of seasons, like the accumulation of sediment, slow, patient, layer upon layer. You are made of the same matter as those stones. The calcium in your bones, the calcium of the limestone pillars, both made in ancient stars, both scattered across the universe, both gathered here on this planet into these forms. Temporarily, your form, the pillars form, both temporary, both real, both meaningful. In the brief time they exist, the fox carved in stone is still running 11,000 years later. The meaning of the fox, unknown, but the running, preserved, the motion, captured in limestone, still carrying something. Whatever it carried then, still carries now, even though we cannot read it. Let the not reading be enough tonight. Let the mystery be enough. Let the fact that this existed, that people built this in Devechistobece, with stone tools, with the same impulse, the same reaching that you feel sometimes in certain moments when something opens and you touch briefly whatever it is they were touching in the firelight between the carved pillars. Let that be enough. It is enough, more than enough. The hill is there in southeastern Turkey tonight, right now. The other 95% still underground, still waiting. The fox still running, the snake still winding, the figures still standing in their circle. And you are here, in this room, breathing at the end of a long journey, through deep time, through the oldest mystery in the human story, arrived, here, sleep now. The excavation continues. Tomorrow, and the day after, and the year after, slowly, patient as limestone, patient as the 11,000 years that waited before someone came and looked and understood what they were looking at. Sleep, the fox runs, the stones stand, the mystery endures, and you are here, still asking, still reaching, still human. Final section. What it feels like standing at the beginning. I have thought about Göbekli Tepe for years. I have read the papers, the books, the debates. I have looked at the photographs, the aerial views, the close-ups of the carved animals, the T-shaped pillars standing in their circles. And I keep coming back to a feeling, a specific feeling that I want to try to describe. When I look at Göbekli Tepe, I feel the distance, the enormous distance of 11,500 years. A gap so large that I cannot imagine across it, that no mind can imagine across. The people who built it are not ancestors in any meaningful sense. They are strangers from a time before memory, before story, before anything I can connect to. And yet, the hands that carved the fox were human hands with the same bones I have, the same tendon, the same muscles, working in the same way. The mind that decided to carve the fox was a human mind with the same basic architecture as mine, the same capacity for wonder, for symbolism, for the impulse to make a mark, to say, I was here, I noticed this, I wanted to make it permanent. The distance collapses at the level of the hands, the mind, the impulse, and that is what Göbekli Tepe does. It collapses the distance. It says, you are not the end point. You are not the culmination. You are a continuation of something very old, very long, very deep. The impulse to build, to carve, to gather, to perform ritual, to mark the important things, to face death together, to reach toward the sacred. These impulses are not modern. They are not civilizational. They are ancient, older than history, older than agriculture, older than cities. They are what we are at the base, before any layer of culture, before any tradition, before any belief system, just human, just the impulse that compelled someone 11,500 years ago to drag a 50-ton stone across a limestone plateau and set it upright and carve a fox on it and gather their people and do whatever they did in the firelight, between the pillars, under the stars, closing the long quiet. You are lying on a planet with 11,500 years of mystery under a hill in Turkey, with painted caves 35,000 years old, with 50-ton stones that someone moved, without machines, without metal, without any of the things we think are necessary for civilization, and built a temple. The story of humanity is not a simple staircase, ascending from simple to complex, from primitive to advanced, from ignorant to wise. It is something else, a long, tangled, rich, surprising story, full of directions we didn't expect, full of capacities we discovered too late to expect them, full of losses as well as gains. And Göbekli Tepe is one of the most extraordinary chapters, a chapter from before the chapters began, from before writing, before history, from the time when the story was told in stone, in animals, in the careful arrangement of massive pillars, and in the deliberate return of all of it to the earth for safekeeping. Those people, those hunter-gatherers of 9,600 BC, who built something so extraordinary that it is still being excavated, still being understood, still generating arguments and wonder and questions. 11,500 years later, they are part of you. Not genetically, they may not be your direct ancestors, but as human beings, as members of the species that looked at the limestone hilltop and saw something worth building, worth carving, worth burying, worth preserving for a future they couldn't see. They are part of that long human story of building things that outlast us, of reaching toward what we can't fully understand, of marking the sacred with stone. Let your breathing slow now. Let the images settle. The carved fox, the headless figure, the T-shaped pillars standing in their circle, the deliberate burial, the hill with the secret that waited 11,500 years for someone to dig. The questions remain. They will remain, perhaps forever. the answers buried with the builders, in the soil of southeastern Turkey, in the silence of 11,500 years. But the questions themselves are the gift. The questions are the wonder. The questions are what remind you that the world is older and deeper and stranger than it usually seems from the inside of an ordinary day, and that somewhere under a hill, something is waiting to be found, to be understood, to change what we think we know about who we are, about where we came from, about what we were always capable of, long before we had a word for it. Close your eyes. The hill is still there. The stones are still standing. The mystery is still alive. And so are you, part of the same long story, still being written, still being carved in the stone of whatever comes next. Rest now.